I first met Asiwaju in the late 80s. Back then, we didn't call him Asiwaju, we called him BAT. As you know, 1999, he joined politics, and I was, in banking then. In 2006, I finally retired from banking. And after I left banking, one day, very casually, Asiwaju just said, Ben, now that you've left banking, how about joining my cabinet? And my first was to laugh. I said, joining your cabinet. Because truthfully, up until that time, working in the public sector wasn't in my radar. And so that's how I joined the cabinet of Lagos State. Shortly after I joined government, there were a few things that people had taken to him, and he had given approval, but which I felt, going by the approval lines that he himself had approved, those things required, full council approval. And I put them together, and some of the folks who worked with me thought this was suicidal. I mean, how are you questioning the authority of the governor? The governor has approved these things. I said, well, by the rules that he himself signed on to, these things required, council approval, and people who took it for his approval in the first place, should have realized that. So I compiled them, put them in the memo, and took to him. And you've signed off on these things, but by the rules that he yourself signed on to, these things require full council approval. And to the shock, I compiled them, put them in the memo, and took to him. And you've signed off on these things, but by the rules that he yourself signed on to, these things require full council approval. And to the shock of the fellows, he said, "Thank you. Bring the memo to council." And so I took the memo to council, and full council endorsed. Many years later, one of the other state governors said to some of his people that he'd like to appoint someone in his cabinet. And I say this in every sense of modesty, the kind of role that, he understood that I was playing in the cabinet. And so one of his people said to him, that they know me, they used to work under me in the bank, and they could reach me. And he said, okay, they should reach me. So they reached me. This guy reached me and said, the governor wanted me to recommend someone that he could appoint who could play a similar role. And I said to him, I said, that's not a problem. There are lots of people in this country who can play a similar role and even do it better than me, that I know. I said, but I have 3 questions that you have to take back to the governor, and the answers to those questions will determine how we go forward. I said, question number 1. This person that is seeking to appoint, is he prepared to cede real authority to the position, to the office? Question number 2, will he be prepared to submit himself to that authority that he has ceded to the office, to be limited by it? And question number 3, if the right person was not from his state, the person I thought was the right candidate was not from his state, would he make the appointment? I'm still waiting for them to come, to cede real authority to the position, to the office. Question number 2, will he be prepared to submit himself to that authority that he has ceded to the office, to be limited by it? And question number 3, if the right person was not from his state, the person I thought was the right candidate was not from his state, would he make the appointment? I'm still waiting for them to come back with the answers to those questions, and it's been, many, many years. Over the time that I've known Asiwaju, and I speak in terms of personal, I've known him personally and I've related personally. I've known him to be a sound professional, known him to be someone with, a soft heart, especially, towards, his, friends, and one who has capacity to be empathetic. Sometimes, actually, he could actually be quite populist in his thing, trying to fight for the welfare of those that he considered less privileged. And that's my Asiwaju story.